Talk so much on my channel about tips and tricks on how to lose body fat, but I don't really talk too much about how you should be tracking your fat loss journey. So today's video is going to be all about tracking progress and making sure you're getting results. Now, quickly, before I dive into this topic, I have a few life updates. If you want to just jump right into the content, you can use the timestamps, which are in the description below, and jump right to my first recommendation for tracking fat loss. If you want to stick around, that's cool too. So, first and foremost, thank you. I know it's not a lot, but I'm really happy. I finally have 500 subscribers. So, thank you to each and every one of you who tune in each week and check out my content. It definitely hasn't been easy putting out content consistently, especially I just took a new job. So, I'll get into that in a second. But thank you. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for showing your love. Thank you for sharing with family and friends. So, I appreciate you. I've started my YouTube journey like less than a year ago. So to already have 500 subscribers, I'm very happy and I appreciate each and every one of you. Keep commenting, keep asking questions, and keep sharing with us. Thank you. First life update, as I just mentioned, is I just got a new job. So, for those of you who don't know, I am a registered dietitian, and I don't think a lot of people know what that entails, meaning you can do a wide variety of things. Now, the reason I'm sharing what this is and what I do is because I didn't know this was a career way back when I was in high school, and honestly, way back when I was a freshman in college. And it took me a very long road to get to where I am now. Now, as a dietitian, I do give meal plans and I do nutritional counseling through my company, Strength by Sammy, but I had some free time on my hands, so I decided to pick up a per diem job at my local hospital. As a dietitian in the hospital, my job is a little bit different as I'm seeing patients at more of an acute care setting. So it could be after a surgery, they have a hard time eating. I might have to do supplemental feeding, such as tube feeds or TPN, which can help someone reach their calorie goals if they're not able to do so by eating them. I also talk to patients who might be new diabetics. I talk to people who have pancreatitis, pretty much any illness that is related to nutrition in some type of way. I'm going to see them. On top of taking on a new job, I have my 10K coming up. If you've been following my videos for a while, you know one of my goals of 2024 was to do a 10K. I did a 5K. I actually ran my first mile ever in 2023. I know I am not a runner. So I ran my first mile, did my first 5K, did a couple 5Ks actually. And now I'm doing my first 10K Saturday. I'm actually really excited. I did a practice run yesterday and did the best I've ever done, which shocked me. I did not think it was going to be a good run, but we're going good. However, after I hit this 10K, I will no longer be doing any longer than maybe 3 miles of running, maybe an occasional 5K here and there. I find running has really hindered my strength goals, and therefore I'm going to be pulling back a bit on this journey. Now, because I didn't have enough on my plate with a new job, my first 10K, running a business, I decided to start my first podcast. It is called the Female Hustle Podcast. You can find us on Instagram. I'm very, very new. We won't be launching until April 1st. So mark your calendars if you want to hear more content on the go. This podcast isn't going to just be about fitness and nutrition. The Female Hustle podcast was started because I wanted to talk more about my women who are doing it all. My women who run businesses, are entrepreneurs, are CEOs that also want to prioritize their health and wellness, but also have a family life, might have kids, maybe have a partner that they like to spend a lot of time with. And it's all about juggling the many aspects that life hands us and doing it all and trying to keep some sort of balance. And I'll talk a lot about the struggles I face as a small business owner, as well as someone who wants to have a family one day, and someone who actually competes in bodybuilding. So there is a lot of different topics I'm going to be covering. If you want to follow, check out my Instagram. It's in the description below, and it will be launching in just a few weeks. So excited for this opportunity. I wanted to make before I start is I got a microphone. I didn't even address this. The reason I've actually had this microphone for like a month, and I know a lot of you commented recently that I need better audio. So I listened, and it's something I've wanted to have for a while. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like getting this microphone set up has taken me a very long time. I have done about 20 Amazon orders trying to find the right parts, YouTubing how to use this thing, and then just getting it to work has been a project in itself. But we got it. I think it's working good. If it's not, I'm gonna have to record all the stuff I'm talking about right now. But, anyways, okay, fat loss and tracking progress. We're gonna start off with my least favorite way to track your fat loss. And honestly, this isn't really tracking fat loss at all. but using the scale. If you have a scale and you're really focused on it, I recommend you just throw that thing away. It really doesn't tell us much of anything. The scale doesn't account for muscle mass. It doesn't account for your bones. It doesn't account for fluid intake. It doesn't account for a lot of things that go on in our body, especially women. It doesn't account for when we have our periods and we might be bloating and retaining more water. All it does is tell us what we physically weigh as a whole. The reason it's critical not to only use the scale as your biggest factor for progress is because you can lose weight without losing fat. Now, before you freak out, hear me out. People who tend to lose weight solely by dieting and maybe a little bit of cardio tend not to really build too much muscle. Therefore, yes, the scale will go down, but they don't always get the results they want. And I've had clients come to me after losing 50 pounds of weight, but be like, I don't like the way I look. That is because they didn't focus on fat loss, they focused on weight loss. So I highly recommend to you, if you're trying to transform your physique, you're most likely going to want to focus on fat loss, which is why the scale really doesn't matter too much. Instead, I'm going to share with you 4 ways to actually measure fat loss that aren't related to the scale. So if you're a science person, you like statistics and you like tracking progress, you're probably going to like to track your body fat is through actual body fat percentage measurements. So there are quite a few different devices that do this. I have a handheld device that I use in my studio. I got mine off Amazon. I will link that product below. Now, I will be honest, it is consistent, but it's not accurate. So, for example, when I compete, it will put me at like 18, 19% body fat in the beginning of my cut. I'm probably a little higher, might be a little lower, but consistently as I cut down, that body fat percentage will go down, meaning I'm losing body fat, not just weight as a whole. I've had it say I'm 13% body fat, which is fairly low for a female, but looking at my physique, I probably would not put myself that low, and vice versa. But it might be a good starting point and it's on the cheaper side. Now, other options might include the in-body test, which a lot of gyms will have access to. I believe it's like a handheld and a foot little test thing. It scans you. The way that a lot of these work is they are sending an electrical signal that is measuring the amount of water in your muscle and your fat. If you're a super sciencey person, I probably explained that terribly, but that's how I explain it to most of my clients. So that's how it's tracking your body fat percentage. A DEXA scan, I would say, is probably the gold standard for getting this. You'd have to go to like a hospital setting or a clinical setting. Maybe some gyms have access to this where they do a full body scan where you get your specific body fat measurements. I believe these also will do circumference measurements, which I'll get into later, but checking your actual body fat. And then you can do it the old school way, which is with the pinch test. I personally have never done one on someone, not even myself, but you would use like a caliper and you would check your body fat percentage using different measurements. I don't know how to do that myself, so I'm not going to even try to explain it to you guys, but you can probably find a YouTube video. I'll find one and I'll link it below. Body fat percentage. That would be a good starting point, but again, not my favorite. Now we're going to get into the 3 that I like the best, especially with working with clients. My next go-to is physical measurements. So for a lot of my clients, I'll measure waist, glutes, legs, and then I'll measure chest and arms. So I'm looking for circumference differences and not always just trending down. Think about it. If you're someone who wants to build your glutes but lose your stomach, you might want to go down in your waist and up in your glutes and your legs. We're looking for shifts in where you're storing your weight, and we're looking for specific areas to possibly go down. Common one I see, as I just mentioned, when women start to build muscle is that their glutes go up, their waist goes down, and their legs go up or roughly stay the same. That to me is a good indicator my client is losing body fat because they are getting smaller around the waist and bigger in their legs and their butt. Now, obviously, every single person's different, and a lot of this is based on genetics and where you naturally store fat. That is a common theme I see when clients start to lose body fat. Above physical measurements, my next favorite way to track fat loss is clothing, because sometimes the measurements just don't always say what we want them to say. It might be only a centimeter down. And sometimes where you're measuring is hindered by the body. For example, if I want to measure your glutes, I have to take into consideration your hips. So it doesn't always tell me if your glutes are growing out, if they're growing wide. It just tells me as a whole if the circumference of your glutes are bigger or smaller. Now, clothing is going to be a little bit different because clothing is going to fit different. And just the way my clients react when this happens, you can see it in their face. That matters a lot more to them than the number on the scale, which is my favorite. I actually specifically had a client like 2 days ago say, "Hey, I actually bought the shirt I'm wearing right now like a month ago and it was so tight and now it's baggy on me." Like that is what I love to see, especially with clients, because that is showing them that their body is changing, especially someone who looks at themselves every day in the mirror, which we all do, and it's just very discouraging because they don't physically see the results. Clothing fitting different is kind of an outside factor that proves to you, even though you might not see it, you are physically changing, and you can't use your personal bias to impact what your results are showing. The clothes themselves are going to show that for you. You probably didn't expect me to say, and maybe have never even thought about, but getting stronger. That is actually an indicator of changing your body's composition, typically losing fat and building muscle. Yes, and I know some people are going to comment. Yes, you can get stronger and put on body fat. But if you are in a calorie deficit or even at maintenance and you're getting stronger and you're getting all the other indicators leading you to fat loss, then you're probably losing fat. Fat itself is not going to make you stronger. You have to build muscle in order to lift heavier, be stronger, do more. This recommendation is for my clients who weight is staying the same, measurements looking very similar, body fat percentage is staying pretty much the same, but they're getting stronger. The way we know you're losing fat is the scale itself is staying the same. So what we're having is a shift in what is fat and what is muscle. Therefore, if you're getting stronger, your muscle is going to be growing while your fat is going to be dropping, and you're going to start to see those other results soon. I would say strength is the first thing to come. I don't think usually the scale dropping, it's usually not measurements. It's usually within the first few weeks, people start to feel a lot stronger. And while building muscle does take a long time, in the beginning, if you're super new, you're going to build at a faster pace than someone who's been doing it for years. So this is a change I see very quickly. My clients feel very quickly, and it's very encouraging to continue. You know, if you're getting stronger, you're feeling better, you're going to want to keep going. So now that you know how to track your progress, you might want to know how to lose the body fat itself. I'm going to tag my most recent fat loss tip video at the end of this video so you guys can check that out if you want to see more content on actually how to lose body fat specifically, not just weight itself, because losing body fat is way more important than seeing the scale just go down. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. If you learned something, if you shared something with family or friends, or if you just want to stay up to date on more tips and tricks, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned next week for another video. Thanks again for tuning in.